scriptures. It is. Hello and welcome to the latest World Cinema with HMR. We're going to talk about 3 films from around the world.
Yep.
Hence World Cinema. And we're going to have minimal dancing from Teggett. Who would like to start?
You know what it is? I'll start because I love these films.
Okay.
It's actually a series of films that I've picked, and it's called REC, and it's a Spanish film. For the life of me, I can't remember who directs it. It's all subtitles, but it's horror, and I'm quite a sissy when it comes to horror films, but I love these because it's kind of zombies, but they're not zombies. It's like an infection, like rabies, but it's not. And it's an amazing concept, and the new one's just about to come out, and I'm like uber excited about that because it just looks immense. Basically, the Americans tried to copy this film, and it didn't really work out as well.
Oh, that's unusual.
Yeah, and but it's one of those things where if you don't watch foreign cinema, you're missing out because
I agree
there's
entirely,
orange on it.
Yeah,
It's fucking brilliant.
Well, a lot of ideas, you know, not like good films don't come from America and that's it. All the ideas come from all around the world,
Yeah.
and then you have to watch these films, and then you'll often find that they've
dumbed down.
inspired or
Yeah.
been directly copied or redone
Yeah.
with a major American producer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Rec in general, it's basically the first one set in an apartment block, and the virus breaks out in this apartment block, and they quarantine it. In fact, the American version was actually called Quarantine.
Was this a film? I remember this film.
Quarantine.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
I remember seeing the trailer for that. I
Yeah.
didn't even think it was about zombies or anything from the
You know,
trailers.
it's like a rabies virus,
Ah.
mutated rabies virus, where in the Rec one it's not.
Yeah,
It's like,
I remember
demonic
the
possession.
foreign film because I saw it as a trailer for another foreign film that I watched. And I don't think I've ever seen like the actual Rec films, but I remember the trailer being in an apartment block, and there was some people in an apartment, and they were like riot police or something stormed the building.
Yeah, that's in the second one actually.
Right.
The first one, they quarantine the building and they send a couple of people in hazmats in
Yeah.
to figure out what's going on. They get infected, and it's basically trying to survive. And it's a TV reporter.
Yes, I
And
remember because that's how it's
it's
filmed, isn't
filmed,
it?
yeah, and it's
yeah.
the
Oh,
thing is,
so it's like a found footage type film.
Yes and no,
Hmm.
because it's like filmed as in like a proper film.
Yeah,
but
they
there's a lot of
cuts to that.
cuts into that, and
Yeah.
it works really, really well.
Sounds good though.
If you
I've
haven't,
never
if you
watched
haven't
it.
seen
No, I never
watch
watched
the
it.
Spanish originals.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And like I say, the new one's coming out, and it's like 4 of them all together. So if you watch them all and then watch the new
you know
one,
what,
it
like-
that's supposed to finish it off though.
We do talk a lot about stuff that's been adapted from different countries, but to me that works in Spain really well because for I've been to Spain not many times, like once or twice, and I'm not a massive fan of Spain if I'm perfectly honest, but that genre and that sort of storyline seems to fit Spain really well.
It does work really well, and if you haven't seen it, I would recommend to watch that because it's a really high scoring film in my own view. I would say it's easily 8, maybe 9.
How many films is there?
There's 4 together. The first and second one are really good. The third one's a bit iffy, but the last one's supposed to like sum it all off, and
Sounds awesome.
I'm looking forward to it, and it's hard to get me to look forward to a film, but I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, cool. Do you want me to go next or do you want me to
You stick with Spanish,
It's Spanish speaking, the one that I'm doing.
right?
yeah.
Because mine isn't.
Right, okay, well, mine isn't set in Spain, it's set in South America. I've got quite a big thing about motorbikes, as does Teggett.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't. So I went through a bit of a phase quite a while ago. Yes, indeed. And we did do a draw from a motorcycle
Motorbike
helmet
helmet, yes.
at one point, yeah. So I went through a big phase at one point about watching films, TV, and that sort of idea.
Dizzy.
Which were motorcycle orientated. Some were good, some weren't, some were just sort of like adventure sort of stuff. But I came across a film called Motorcycle Diaries, which I'd heard a lot of good reviews about, but I didn't really know anything about it other than the fact that it had motorcycle in the title. So I thought, yeah, we'll give that a watch. So basically the film is set in the 50s, It was a film that was made in 2004, I believe, and it's about a trip two guys make on a bike. One of them is a med student in his last year, and another one is a biomedical student. And the basis of the film, it's actually based on a book of the same name, and their sort of journey is to get from one part of South America to another part where there's a leper colony, and they're going to go and work there as medics.
A leprechaun.
Leprechaun? Did I say leprechaun?
No, you said leper, but I'm saying leprechaun
All right.
colony. Top of the morning to you. Oh, watch out, he's got it.
Yeah, so, but they decide, as I found most motorcycle trips to do, is to take over as much of the terrain as they can. They set off to go across the Andes and things like that. And they set out to go for a long trip to get to this leper colony. Along the way, they interact with lots of different people, so they find people who are like the poorest of the poor, and they spend time with them, and then they find people who are in like higher society, and they meet up, and there's a certain amount of love stories and things like that, which is sort of an ongoing thing, and it works in the film. I mean, it's a true story, or based on a true story, so it's sort of, there isn't really a Hollywood style love story in it, apart from, you know, it's sort of like a real life thing. One of the guys who's on this trip is moved by what he sees of the people who he sees, the poverty and the fact that the rich are very rich and the poor are very poor, and he doesn't like this, and he has an issue with it, and he wants to try and sort of...
commies.
Well, it's funny you should say that. He wants to try not really overthrow it, but like bring a sort of more level playing field and that sort of idea, and it inspires the rest of his life, of his true life, and he became... or was Che Guevara.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Che Guevara.
So he's one of the guys. I mean, he's not. I mean, he became Che Guevara when he became the radical sort of guerrilla fighter, but he wasn't Che Guevara at this point. He was like a med student, and they do eventually get to the leper colony. It's quite a long ride. I mean, it's all subtitles and it's in Spanish, and at times they talk very, very quickly, and the subtitles are very fast. But you sort of get the context of the film, and it's a big journey that they go through, and there's certain things that they see, and they do medical things, and they get paid for it to continue on, and they have breakdowns on the bike, it's funny because it's like it's a true film, and you sort of don't really get the peril of these sort of films, like true life, because you know a lot of the things when you're watching them, especially like The Long Way Around, stuff like that, they all have issues, but they also find a way to get around it. But in the 50s, they didn't, like, nobody had any money in South America, so a breakdown of a bike was a major thing.
Yeah.
And there's a big part in the film where the bike breaks down and they push it into a city, and they're there for ages, and they're trying to get money, and they're trying to rebuild like the bits of the bike, and it's
Change.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. But it's quite good, and the way it's filmed is very, very good as well. And there's a bit that always stands out for me, where they're riding along this road, and one of them's got a kitten that they've found in the road, and he's got it in his backpack. And you see this kitten, and they have like this. They don't have like a major accident, but they come off the bike on this like dirt road, and the bike goes scooting off into a ditch, and they both roll off, and you know one of them's moderately hurt. The first thing they do is check the kitten to make sure it's alive.
Is it alive?
Yeah, it's alive. They get through all the way, pretty much the whole way, and it's
I have quite a funny similar story, where it was on a bus,
right,
and there was this large lady, and she had a little Chihuahua dog,
right.
and she decided to walk down the bus while the bus was in motion, and the bus driver decided to stop.
Did he?
Yep.
Sounds like a nasty man to me.
Right, no, he had to stop to avoid an accident.
Right, okay.
The only thing was, the large lady decided to fall over, whilst she had this little dog in her jacket. Large lady won, little dog dead.
That's not brilliant, yeah. But my point of that was that it was very well shot. The whole film is not a high budget Hollywood style film, and it's never claims to be, and it's never designed to be, and it's filmed in a way that would almost be like an amateur film of this sort of...
More like a biopic.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, actually. And there's a bit, they get to the leper colony, and there's a bit of a thing that goes on there where they want to try and help them and they're not allowed to, and they want to get medication in and they're not allowed to, and it's all like, there's a bit where all of the people in the leper colony are sterile, so they wear sterile gloves and stuff like that, and they go in and,
All right.
and they're not sterile.
I was totally thinking about something else though.
But it's no, I don't mean like that. They wear medical equipment, and
Just go with your thinking.
and the guy goes. It is quite, as much as we've got a bit of a laugh going on. It is quite
serious.
Yes, it is serious. And then it was one of the first things that started this off, that they really decided that leprosy wasn't an infectious disease.
Yeah.
Because like they were all like surgical gowns, sterile gloves. They wouldn't touch the lepers as best they could, and bits and pieces like that. And these guys went in and they were like, well, what are you doing that for? It's not contagious. So they went in, they didn't have any surgical equipment on, and they went and helped them, they shook hands, they did all this sort of stuff, and it was totally revolutionary to them. And then it goes on from there, and they eventually leave, and the end scene is on an airstrip, and the two of them part, and they say, you know, it's been great doing this 8,000 miles together, and one of them goes on a plane and flies off, and the other one goes off on his bike. And it's, you know, it's quite a sad ending, but you know what happens, like obviously he becomes Che Guevara, and he fights for the poor, and that was his sort of basis. And it's a funny film, because when I realised it was Che Guevara, because you find out straight away who it is, you expect it to be revolutionary, and you expect it to be, you know, political, and it kind of isn't.
It's just, yeah.
It's just them finding themselves.
It's about the little things.
It is exactly about the little things. And it's a very, very good film. It got really good reviews, although not many people have seen it. It's a bit of a Serenity film. Excellent film, but very, very underrated, and not many people know it. So yeah, that's my foreign film, and I would highly recommend you watch it. Even if you're not a big lover of bikes or travel, the story itself is very good as well.
So, going across the world from Spain to Japan, we've got the classic film, The Seven Samurai. Now, this features massively in the whole thing about ideas being redone, rehashed with other things.
Magnificent Seven, if I remember rightly, isn't it?
Yes, it's 1954, I think.
Black and white film.
Yes, black and white film, directed by Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, I think it was around 1954. It's set in feudal Japan, 1500s, I think, and it's about a village of farmers who are under threat from a group of bandits who come and expect them to give up their crop. They spend all year trying to, you know, get the harvest right, and then these bandits are saying, "We're going to come harvest time, and we're going to take it all." The village elders want to try and stop this, so it's just a poor farming village, but they have to get samurai to try and protect them. So some of them go to the nearby city, and they're trying to recruit samurai, masterless samurai Ronin, who will come and fight for them for a roof over their heads and food. 3 meals a day and a roof over their heads to sleep. And this is difficult because samurai are always about honour and who would stoop to such a thing, just fighting for a pittance basically.
Yeah.
But they find someone who would they get a samurai on board, and there's a young inexperienced samurai who comes with him because he's pretty much just following them around because he's in awe of him. He wants to be his apprentice, if you like. So you've got a samurai who's recruiting other samurai to come and fight. They eventually get 6 if they include this apprentice, and they find someone who claims to be a samurai who's a bit strange. This giant guy with a giant sword who reckons he's a samurai, but he just gets drunk, he shouts, he's boisterous, he doesn't act like a samurai at all. But he does follow them. He follows, eventually when they find those who will come to fight this village, this guy follows them, and he eventually proves to be a major plot point in that when these samurai have come to the village, they find parts of the villages have killed samurai in the past and hoarded all their armor, and this samurai who isn't really a samurai finds it all and says, "Great, we can use all this stuff to help in the fight. We've got armor, we've got spears," and all the other samurai are angry at this. They basically shout at him, say, you know, these villages have killed samurai. They shouldn't be used like this. We should leave this stuff as it is. And this is where this now major character reveals himself to be a farmer. He was the son of a farmer. He shouts down the rest of the samurai for basically how the classes work in that time of Japan, how the samurai are above everyone else and they just lord it over people like farmers who are scared of them, who don't trust them, who expect to just be killed on a whim by them. And he breaks down in front of them, and that's when they realise he's a farmer. And they sort of learn that the fighting for a bigger cause than themselves, than a pay or glory. They're fighting to protect people who are scared, people who can't defend themselves, and like something that's right. And it's a long film, and it's about half of it is probably the preparation to the bandits' attack. But there's a lot of, let's say, it's an old film, so there's a lot of action, but it's, you know, it's not big on effects, but the fight scenes are well done. You have samurai duels, you have bandits with muskets, spears, horseback, archers, all fighting in this village. It does flow well. I mean, it's a big film. You might think it flows slowly, but it's good. Like, there's preparation, there's the build-up, there's the characters who learn about sacrifice, because there is a bit of sacrifice there in this film, and it is really, really good. It's a good watch. I mean, I'd probably give it, I'd say 9, but I'm tempted to go a bit higher than that. It's really, really good, and it was adapted several years later into Magnificent Seven, which is similar story set in the in America, in the Wild West.
Pretty much New Mexico, really.
Yeah, but it just goes to show how these films have such a legacy that it came out and it was remade into this other film, which is in its own right is a massive film.
Oh yeah, it was huge in America.
And
but can I just interject there? Because when you talk about the film and how it's set and all that, I think it was possibly about 12, maybe 11, 12 years ago, a film came out, animated film called The Bug's Life.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? The crickets
yeah.
come to take the crops,
That's right.
goes out to hire warriors. Yes.
I never thought about that.
And they come,
I never made that
they come
connection.
and protect them, and
Yeah.
you find out it's more than just showbiz. You know, they come to love the colony, and they fight for them
Yeah,
and drive the crickets away.
but
Just saying there, it's one of those things
Yeah.
that always recurs over and over again. So you're starting from the Japanese film,
yeah,
and then the Americans,
to
that.
American.
and you can there's
It's
probably
even
umpteen
a children's.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually there's an animated, like, you know, a Japanese anime series called Samurai 7, and it's like a steampunk type setting, but it has the basic story, but that ends about halfway through and it just goes off on one, as these things seem to do. But like, it just goes to show, like, it's still echoed through like different kinds of media, and even with the same director, Kurosawa, and the actor Toshiro Mifune. I don't know if I said that right. Who plays the guy who's not really a samurai. He starred in Yojimbo, by the same director, which was about a wandering samurai who was hired by the gangs of this town to do certain things, and he takes payment from both of them and he starts playing them off against each other.
That's very similar to an American film that I can think of.
Which was then remade into another very successful film, Fistful of Dollars. So again,
which was then remade again.
well, it was a sequel, wasn't it?
No, they remade that specific film into Last Man Standing.
Oh.
Bruce Willis.
So yeah, you have ideas from around the world, usually taken by Americans from other people. But yeah,
Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai. It's one of those old epic films where it's got a massive cast. It's about 3 hours long, I think.
Genre defining.
Yeah,
It is, yeah. Like period film. It's obviously subtitled, so you know. But like I say, there is some good character development. There's good action. There's good emotion shown throughout the film, and like I say, the idea of sacrificing, fighting for something bigger than themselves, like really comes across, and it ends on a sort of bittersweet ending. In that, it is a victory, but comes at a cost. So
I think
Like a
it's,
Pyrrhic victory.
yeah, I think it's generally held, even in America, as probably one of the best samurai films they've ever made. And the story itself is always held very highly.
yeah,
I know they've remade it, and obviously those would follow the same story, but
yeah,
the original
that just
story-
goes to show.
exactly,
Right.
yeah. So world cinema is the way forward, I think.
So yeah, old film, black and white, and subtitled, but get over it and watch it.
I think that's what scares most people off about world cinema.
What subtitles?
Subtitles, yeah. I mean, you can get dubbed, and we've already discussed that it's not as good.
Yeah.
I think the only film that I've seen that it worked well in was Stalingrad.
I didn't know. I never watched that dubbed.
That's
Actually, dubbed, it's done really, really well.
an idea of dubbing is what I've recently seen again Japanese, Catch It One, which is a short film. It's just like one episode of a series that has so far never been made. 20-minute long, computer generated animation about bunny rabbits in Afghanistan shooting camels. Basically anthropomorphic animals in war situations. It's based on Apocalypse Meow. Or was it actually originally? I think it might have actually been called Catch It One originally in the Japanese version. It's based on a manga series. But anyway, I've watched this recently and it's very good. The movements, it looks spot on, like actual military, like if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's well produced.
Yeah, it's well produced, and like the thing that lets it down is the English dub, because the voices sound like it's sort of like Metal Gear corny. Like, oh yeah, we gotta go do this, and yeah,
The group
and
voice.
actually, someone actually says at one point, "You son of a bitch!" Like,
Do you not think like?
But like I say that it also clashes with, you see, like some points it's got that sort of like Japanese, like funny, happy feel to it, which comes over as a bit strange when it's got an English voice to it.
American.
Yeah, like
That's like one of my like major things like with dubbing.
Like,
apart from the fact it's generally rubbish. It's usually not that I've got any issue with it, but it's usually an American accent,
yeah.
and it doesn't always work. And they use American colloquialisms that were never designed with the film. If they follow the same colloquialisms of the country that they've produced the film in, it might work better.
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
So it doesn't, like, I don't know, it sort of jars a bit, like the language and the actual feel of what the how the characters are animated and what the mood's like. You can sort of tell that that's not the language it was supposed to be. And
I'll give you an interesting sort of fact about dubbing. In a film that you
but that's very good anyway. Catch It One. Get that watched.
Um,
It's only 20 minutes long. You can see it on YouTube.
A film that you don't like very much, Brotherhood of the Wolf. It's a good film. I enjoyed it. Anyway, it's a French film, but there is an English dub. Yeah, that's. It should be raining really, but yeah, there is an English dub of it, and the main woman who's in it, who I can't remember her name, but she's in The Matrix as well. Matrix Reloaded, I think. I can't remember what her name is.
Is that the one with the white hair?
Oh, quite possibly. She's the partner of the somebody with begins with a name. I can't remember. They're in the
Morpheus.
club anyway. No, not Morpheus. You know the club where they have like that special cake.
Oh, yes.
It's that club. Anyway, the woman who that is, I can't remember what her name is. She's in Brotherhood of the Wolf, and she speaks English and she speaks French. And the dub, when they filmed it, it was in French, and the dub that they did in English is actually her doing her character in English. So it's one of the only characters where it actually works because it's her who did both of them.
It's the same, voice actor.
Yeah, and she had the emotion in French as she did in English. But like if you listen to the two of them, the emotion that you hear and the way that they talk in the French is different to the emotion that they feel in English because it doesn't always.
Because like inflections and that in language aren't always the same.
So in that sense, it works.
Well, then it brings you on to the point where if you're watching a French film, especially if you've gone to school in England or anything like that, where you've learned French, even at a basic level, you can watch a French film, and even if it's got subtitles, you're picking it up before the subtitles come on because you've already learned it, and even if it's just subconscious, you're recognising it. And especially since some of the words and things like that, especially in Europe, a lot of languages are very similar, and you can pick up on things really like quick. So
that's the same sort of perspective of Japanese as well, isn't it? If you watch enough Japanese films, you start to pick up a certain amount of phrases and you know what they're saying.
Like I say with Catch It One, like they've got like it's also when we watched that Wangan Midnight. It's got.
So I don't explain that film since we've talked about it now.
We have like Japanese do things in films where acting is slightly corny.
Yeah.
But that's how it's done.
That's how it happens in Japan, though, isn't it?
Like some things have like it's like slightly like comedy and it's I don't know, that's just like how they are.
But it's only comedy and different because it's not in the culture that we have, like the bowing thing and all that sort of stuff, which is totally alien to us.
Yeah.
Because
like,
we're in the Western society.
Just like an example is like when in that part in Wangan Midnight they're building up a car, and then once it's done, like one of the guys just like he just like suddenly goes, "It's ready." And it's like,
do you know what?
Like, he is mental.
He's got awesome hair.
Yeah. He does random commentary on the drifting.
That's right, the actual real drifting.
Him with the hair.
But do you not think
he's actually a comedian in Japan, I think.
Is he?
Yeah. That's why.
Do you not think it's like, I don't know, you've got...
So that's what I say, it's like part of the culture now, like they have like this sort of slightly happy, corny overtone to it all.
I don't know, it sort of brings me on to another point that I've often thought. If you think about like car films, and I mean, I don't mean in like biographical terms and things like that, but films about car racing and whatever. If you look at America, you're looking at like Daytona and stuff like that. NASCAR, which I know they're like races and stuff, but they're all done in a specific way, which is an American way, and it is the way that they do things in America, and that's fine. But then if you look, like, I mean, we've had this discussion a few times about Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. Yeah, but like that aside, Tokyo Drift at the beginning is in America, and they have a very American way of doing it. They've got this car which is a muscle car, and it's going to be big and it's going to be fast. And they've got slick tyres on when they're driving about in a builder's yard.
Going to school.
And go to school, yeah, and they've got these cars, and they're like mega, like huge performance cars in school, and it's all a bit like, it's very American the way they do it, and then they go to Japan, and it's all about, you have to learn to lose control to win, all this sort of bullshit. Because it's total bollocks.
I remember that tagline, just thinking, what? You lose control? No, you have to be in absolute complete control the whole time, you dick.
But that's it, you know what I mean? That was my point exactly. You've got a film which is made for an American audience because they like big muscle cars and it's got to be fast and awesome and you go around corners sideways and it's totally out of control and people shout and they do things and it's like, it's awesome. But then you look at like One Gang Midnight, which is in a sense a very similar film in story. It's about illegal street racing in Japan. And to be fair, they wrecked the car a few times. Like,
Yeah, he crashes it about 2 or 3 times.
and it's like, you know, it's more realistic because, I'm sorry, but there's not a lot of street racers out there that haven't wrecked cars. Whereas this guy who's American is so awesome that he only, well, man, he wrecks a car as well, but most of the Fast and the Furious stuff, very rarely do they go into massive smashes and end up in hospital. But they do in One Gang because... But it's based on like
because they're flying down the motorway and they're crashing into trucks and stuff like
yeah,
that.
but that, you know, it happens like
Yeah.
One Gang is an actual place in Japan where this actually goes on and it actually happens where people fucking kill themselves. And it just feels more realistic and more genuine and a better style of film because people are being genuine to the actual real life as opposed to trying to blow it out of proportion.
To make some money.
To make some money, yeah. Exactly. So, I don't know, I feel like world cinema, maybe, I mean, some of the world cinema have got huge budgets, but they just
It doesn't get the attention.
It doesn't, so they don't.
But it's very refreshing to go into it and
Yeah,
see what's out
absolutely.
there.
I mean, we are quite one-sided in the sense that a lot of the foreign films that we do are subtitled and or dubbed or whatever. So you've got Japan, you've got China, you've got Russia, we've done a lot in those, we've got some European ones with Spain and France and things like that. But there's not only that, I mean, international cinema, look at Australia. They produce some fucking good films. I mean, look at Mad Max as a prime example. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but...
Mad Max was done by a couple of students at the time. There was no budget.
Exactly, but they produced fantastic films.
They reused the cars. Sometimes the paint was still wet from repainting the cars, like a different colour, to act as a different car in a different scene.
But that doesn't that just produce such a fantastic film though? I mean, the second one that they produced, they wrecked so many cars that they ended up just fucking bolting bits to them, and they became part of the actual film. And it works so well because it's genuine. Do you know what I mean? It's not a huge budget of, oh, we'll have another car there and that one's been bashed, so, you know, there's no continuity. Well, maybe there isn't, but you don't notice that because everything works together so well.
But if you look at modern Australian cinema, it's becoming a very American.
Yeah, but they fucking have Americans in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a genuine Australian film, produced, written and directed by Australians and having American actors.
Yeah.
It's not an Australian film, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. It's like saying you have a British film and having American actors in that. It's not a British film, it's British written, British directed, but unless you've got a British cast, it's not a full British film.
like Gravity.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Except for the director isn't British.
Yeah, because like
He's from Italy, but he
yeah.
lives in Britain.
it's like he lives in Britain and it gets like said everywhere. It's like, oh, it's like a British film. It's like George Clooney and Sandra Bullock or whoever.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Sandra Bullock.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got no issue with actors going to different countries and things like that, but if they're going to make a big point of the fact that the film is of a country, do it right.
Like, since it's like world cinema, I'll bring this up. It kind of hints on what we're saying about Americans coming over. Now, the first film is British, and it was genre-defining British horror.
28 Days Later.
Yes. Now, 28 Weeks Later comes along, and the Americans have basically took over England because they are Americans.
You know what?
You're like, what's going on here?
I saw the title.
What, 28 weeks later?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I instantly didn't want to watch the film, and I never have. Because I was just like, this is a cash in. It just seemed like a complete cash
Well,
in.
I'm pretty sure what they did was they left the rights of the film open,
Yeah.
so
They could write other stuff, yeah.
so like the rest of Europe could do their own thing. It's spread from Britain. It's in France now. The French could make their own 28 Days Later. You know what I mean? And have be epic. Then it could say spread to Germany. They do their own 28 Days Later, and it would be epic.
Do you know what, like 28 Days Later, I know it's not really foreign film, which is the foreign section that we're doing, but I just want to have a bit, like, touch on it really, because it was a film that I watched...
It's world cinema.
Well, it is world cinema, I suppose, yeah.
It was made in the world.
it was a film that I watched when relatively shortly when it came out.
Mm.
Really enjoyed it, but didn't really look very deep into the film itself. Went a few years without watching it. It was on TV again. I watched part of it and I thought, you know what it is? It's a really good film. I'm going to have to dig it out and watch it again. Watched it again and I thought, yeah, it's a kind of film, not bad. And then like a few months later, oh no, actually no, it'll have probably been recently because I was talking to you about it and telling about it. I found a lot more depth in the film. In the sense that, firstly, I didn't realise that a lot of it was filmed very close to where we filmed this.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I didn't realise that. Two people told me that in the space of a few
Yeah.
weeks. And I was just like, wow, that's quite impressive. And, you know, it means something to me that the film, which was such a big blockbuster across the world, was filmed like a few miles away from where we are now. Which I like that. And there was obviously the big point, one of the sort of the revelations of the film, if you like, where he's lying on the grass. And there's a plane going across and they realise they've quarantined the UK. What a brilliant idea. I thought that was a fantastic part of the film. And then you've got to
And if you
take...
think about it, it'd be so easily done.
Absolutely, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah,
what I mean,
right.
because that's exactly what would happen. Do you know what I mean? But there was that, and there was the pure logistics of certain points of the film, like the bit that they filmed in London, where it was abandoned.
Yeah.
And look at the fucking the effort and the hype that got into it when they did Edge of Tomorrow, and they did basically the same thing where they landed a helicopter in London and they cordoned off a big area. Well, in that, they announced it, we're cordoning off, you can't come in, you can't do this, you
They
can't do
didn't
that.
do that though for 20
did
days. They just
do it.
blocked the road and that was it.
They did it at 4 o'clock in the morning where there possibly could have been people around, and they just filmed it, and it sort of just went from there. But when you watch the film, it's eerie how like silent London is, because it never is like that, and they just happened to get the right time, the right place for that part of the film. And I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's
And
context
also
has
that it's
come back.
like based on a factual outbreak.
Possible outbreak, yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's why it's called 28 days, because that's how long it would take for it to be spread through the whole of the UK.
You know, it was when they
Well, sorry, the
first
main British Islands.
when they first wrote it, it was about Porton Down.
Huh?
When they first did the original script, because it was about the lab that we've got in the UK, which handles all infectious disease, which is Porton Down, and they do all sorts
Isn't
of.
that not where it starts though?
I don't
Where
know.
they break in and
They never-
goes,
they-
and bites him, he just starts to run.
They
blood
never
straight
say where it is, I don't think, and to be fair, nobody will be able to break into Porton Down.
away. Mm.
It's so heavily fortified that you just would never ever get in like they
Yeah,
do.
what was it, like one security guard or something?
Yeah, I mean, Porton Down is just, it's, I mean, I'm not going to go into it now, but it's immense how much information and how much stuff you've got to go through to get to the fences. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I just thought that was quite cool. I mean, yeah, based on possible actual events of a post-apocalyptic sort of outbreak, really. A little bit like 12 Monkeys, but
Mm.
like filmed in a different way.
Or Doomsday?
Yeah,
Mm.
that sort of went off on a one, like, but I
Well,
enjoyed that film.
Or World War Z, where
Oh, I didn't enjoy it very much.
World War Z, where like
he ended up in Scotland.
all of a sudden we'll just have that was Wales, wasn't it?
No, it's Scotland.
All
Just
of a,
outside of Glasgow.
all of a
Yes, you can
sudden
say.
we're gonna have like these people. If you get infected by a zombie, you turn like instantly. All right, so somehow
6 seconds, isn't it?
somehow there's gonna be someone on a plane who managed to get on the plane infected,
Uninfected.
like
No, but it was-
unnoticed.
Yeah, but uninfected when he went onto the plane, as it were, like as you say, unnoticed, and then somehow he changes over a matter of time as opposed to instantly.
No, it changes instantly, but it's in the air. You know the luggage compartment. You know how they have the little
It's in the bog.
the elevators that come up.
Yeah.
It's in there because she goes. She's opening the elevator. That's what it is. That's where they bring the food up, and she's opening that because the dog's barking, and that sets it way going like that, and then she opens it up. But mind that one scene is probably the best scene of the whole film.
But
Where it's on the plane.
like films like that frustrate me. I mean, I know, like, because we do a lot of reviews of films and we talk about a lot about opinions of films, and that genre, I don't mean in the sense of a zombie film or anything like that, or a horror, but that genre of style of film that we've come to know now as the norm annoys me, because it's like a potentially big budget film with big actors about a story which could potentially happen, or don't, you know, sci-fi horror, that sort of idea, but it's dumbed down. I mean, like,
The original idea was that, like, the original book is a lot bigger.
that's what I'm
It's
saying.
like I say, it's World War Z.
Yeah,
It's
but it's the
all
context.
like the forces of the world fighting against the zombies
Yeah,
who weren't running around in the book.
but I don't.
And in the book, it's like World War Z.
But it's
following
very
this one
violent,
man,
isn't it? Yeah.
this one guy going around the world.
I feel like it's dumbed down. Like when we were talking earlier on about the ability to produce fantastic films with low budget. It's all about story.
Yeah.
There is no excuse for dumbing down a film because you've either got no budget or you've got no actors. There's no excuse at all. The fact that you've got a story to base something on to start with, your script, and it's a half-assed attempt. There's no excuse for it.
Half-assed attempt with an astronomical budget.
Yeah, it's
Well, that's what I mean,
What we'll
though.
do is just jet set around the place, take some shots. So I get on the plane.
But I'm not like I'm not really talking about I'm not expressing this very well. But do you get where I'm going with this?
If they've got the budget for the effects and the actors and everything else, why did he skimp on the story?
Exactly, yeah. There's no. I mean, you can have fantastic special effects in films, but in my opinion, special effects do not make a film. There's no real reason for that. But it's like, why should you 12A a horror film, which is a horror film? There's no way around it. It is a horror film, and why should you have such a mediocre storyline to try and be able to get the people who are 14 years old to understand the film? I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for that.
And that's why, by mentioning that, it brings us all the way full circle to my beginning.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant storyline. The plot of it actually twists at the end of the first one. You didn't see that,
Yeah.
and it just goes on from there. And it's a proper horror film, and
Yeah.
it's rated as an 18 as well.
Yeah. But it's
And that's
deep
it.
though. It works for people because they can feel the story, they can be involved in it and understand it, and it's just the fucking mollycoddled, pussyfooting around storylines of the way that stuff is.
Yeah, and to top it off, it does the old typical thing at the end of World War Z where it's like, yeah, and by the time we get to the end, sequel. Like they
I
can
hate that.
very easily just do that now.
I don't see why they should do that either.
It's
I
like,
mean,
yeah, now we can fight them. So now if we got a bigger budget, more stuff and less story.
Well, that's it though. There's no look at excellent sequels to films that have been in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. The proper, really good sequels never had an original film which said we're going to make a sequel right at the end. They never did it because it's you don't know. It's the films that have the open ending. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Not the films of and next time. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what people say with District 9.
Mhm.
Where it's like, ooh, well,
Did he ever come back?
It's like, did he? Oh, so he's gonna come back in 3 years. All right. Well, he's gonna come back in 3 years to help his people and to help Vickers. It's like, oh, right, sequel. It's like, well, no, you don't need.
No.
You don't need a sequel
No.
because we know that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be a film about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is going to be a sequel, but like, it doesn't need one.
No.
It's good enough as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they're the best films that actually have a sequel for the ones that don't need them.
Well, like
It's not forced.
Alien.
Yeah, absolutely. None of them ever really
Like,
needed a sequel.
it didn't, it didn't say, ooh, there's going to be a sequel, because it was like, right, we've killed the alien, right, out. She's going to sleep and she's going to be picked up. And
that was the end.
yeah, and it was like, okay, she did get picked up, but back on the planet where they found them, there was thousands of eggs. So it was open for a sequel, but the film didn't say it's open for a sequel.
Yeah.
The film said she got away.
Yeah, that's right. Unlike Prometheus.
Prometheus, where it's like, right, I'm going to the sequel now.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says, isn't it? It's a prequel to the sequel.
Yeah.
Prometheus.
You never know the possible sequel or sequels that they make may well be good. I mean, I
And
doubt it. might.
they may well just have as many holes as in the first one, you know what
Yeah,
I
it
mean?
was terrible, really, wasn't it?
It was awesome. That was just awesomely crap.
That, I mean, I know we've really sort of gone off topic now, but that's
It's world, it's in the world,
yeah. That brings me on to
Prometheus is
another
inside
sort of
for a while.
it's a world.
world cinema.
You know, when you watch films, and we were probably some of the people who do this the most. You watch a film and you go, "That was shit."
Yeah.
Well,
You know
like
what I mean?
Prometheus.
No, I'm not saying Prometheus is well. I mean, Prometheus is a very good example, but I'm not
Cops
saying.
is the prime example for that.
My
With
point
Marilyn
being,
Manson in it.
yeah, my point being that a high-ish or very high budget film with very high quality actors and relatively well written story, they proof it. They proof watch the films. They have pre-screenings and shit like that. Who is it that goes in and goes, "Your film's excellent"?
Yeah.
When it wasn't. Who stands up and has the balls to say, "Mate, your film is shit"? It never happens.
But that's why people like us do this kind of thing for.
Yeah.
Then that's why this is why I created HMR in the first place, because I was sick of bullshit.
Yeah.
Massive
You-
medias.
you get
going,
a lot-
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and
no,
then-
they're getting paid by the.
And then you got a
companies to
lot
say
of
that's
angry
brilliant.
voices in the public going, "No, it's not. It's shit."
Yes, exactly.
And then flip that around. Firefly Serenity.
Epic films and TV. obviously.
Firefly got cancelled. Rave reviews.
Yeah.
Fox fucked it up. Put it on a higgledy-piggledy order.
Yeah.
Cancelled it after
Yeah.
one series.
Yeah.
Everyone went, "This is brilliant. What have you done?" A few years later, "All right, we'll make a film."
Yeah.
Comes out, gets like 10 out of 10 reviews.
Yeah, it did.
Um,
Jonathan Ross said it was the best film he saw that year.
It was 2005. That was his film of the year, 2005. Brilliant, and still no one had heard of it. It didn't get the massive attention
Yeah.
and the massive ticket sales that it deserved.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "Right, you need to bring Firefly back because we love it. It's amazing. You've done a film. It's proven that it's amazing." And then they've gone, "Oh, well, we'll see how the DVD sales do."
And then
It's like, fuck
but
off.
you know, the DVD sales that they were looking at, they didn't release them worldwide. They only they looked at the DVD sales that they released in America. Yeah, no, I bought it.
Yeah, but I bought it as well. That's mine.
Yeah, I know.
That's an American import.
I know.
Yeah.
I did exactly the same thing. But
So, no, I don't think there is a UK version. Or
not the special edition. No, there isn't. But that's it though. We'll look at the DVD sales, but we'll only release it in a certain part of one country. Well, how are you ever going to get good DVD sales if you don't do it?
Because I don't know. I think they just don't want it to be
No.
successful.
You know, Love Film said it was one of they tried to resurrect 5 TV series throughout forever, and Firefly was one of them. Of their 5 of eternity of all of the TV series that have ever been made and cancelled. Firefly was one of the 5 that they wanted back, and they couldn't do it.
You know what I want back?
Space Above and Beyond.
There we go. I say.
You know what? I think this discussion comes up in everything. We start going about Firefly. We start going about Space Above and Beyond.
yeah. That was but that's well off topic, and
Well,
leave that.
yes, I was going to say it.
We're not in the films anymore.
We are definitely rambling now, and I think we should probably wrap up.
Yeah.
Is Firefly Canadian?
Yeah, it might have been actually.
World Cinema.
Go and see Firefly. Go and see Serenity.
But yeah, so to sum it off, that was our 3 films turned into about 5.
5.
Yeah. So that was the films, and yes, I hope you enjoyed our ranting on, but in a normal tone of voice. Yeah. So please leave a like for the video. Subscribe to the YouTube.
It's all going wrong.
I know it's we're talking into me. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I had to say that with nice close there for now. And leave comments and things like that if you agree, if you don't agree, and all that kind of malarkey. Just do it. We like the feedback and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hope everybody's gonna have a good weekend since this is published on Friday. I'll see you all later. Ta-ra.